Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ungraded. Today, we are pleased to have Mr. Arun Gopalakrishnan with us here today. Welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Arun Gopalakrishnan is a communication strategist with over 25 years of experience across journalism, public affairs, and corporate reputation management, having worked with leading media houses and global brands like Abbott, Monsanto, and Bayer. He now advises C-suite leaders through his firm AGK Advisors. So let's start, sir.
Sure.
So to start off with, in the 1990s and 2000s, PR took shape as a credible machine of reputation management. In the 2010s, it gained momentum as strategic communication expanded its horizons. How will PR be remembered in this decade, especially when generative AI announced its arrival?
First, thank you for having me here. I think every decade there has been definitive change, or any communication vehicle has evolved to a great extent. And I think that is the case with public relations as well. AI will have its say. Definitely, there is no doubt about it. But despite AI being there, I think a human angle will continue to reinforce itself. A human angle will continue to have an impact, because at the end of the day, what you need to remember is you are dealing with human beings. You are not dealing with computers and technology everywhere. There is some amount of a human interface, some amount of a human face that will be there. And having said that, relationships, networking, meaningful messaging will always continue to be at the forefront.
Okay. So the next question, sir, can we view PR as pre-digital and post-digital? Particularly, digital marketing has reconfigured PR, marketing, and advertising, and it included human manifestations such as influencers. So what's your take on this, sir?
I think yes. So there are going to be two parts over here: pre-digital and post-digital. But the way I would probably look at it is, as I said in my previous response, is that there is going to be any profession or any vehicle of communication um, continuously keeps evolving over a period of time. And so the way I would probably look at it today, in today's world, is that no specific stream can be viewed in isolation. So for probably a lot of you who are here doing mass communication, or various other fields, what I would probably urge students to see or learn is that not look at them in isolation as, say, I'm doing journalism, or I'm doing public relations, or AV, or whatever is the specialization. I think each one of us needs to be needs to see ourselves as communicators, and that is where I think whether it is pre-digital or post-digital, how we see PR, advertising, etc. Each one of them, when they come together, and there is a seamless flow across each of these factors, that you see, they will kind of create a meaningful kind of influence when you're engaging with the eventual stakeholder. I hope that made sense.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And the next question, reputation building, it can't be easy in the age of social media and trolling. So how do companies, government agencies, and individuals deal with it?
Look, you are going to face flack irrespective of whether you say irrespective of what view you put out there. There is going to be one set of stakeholders who are going to appreciate it. There's going to be one set of stakeholders who are going to be neutral, and one part who are going to be extremely critical. And that's the case with each one of us as well. We don't agree to anything and everything that is told to us, and that happens even in our day-to-day lives. One of the things that I have consciously done over a career that has, especially in advocacy, that has spread over a decade, is how do I be truthful, how do I be honest, and how do I do the maximum amount of research before I go out and engage with any set of stakeholder with whom I am advocating. What each one of us, before we go out and advocate, needs to realize is that, yes, narratives will change, narratives can be distorted, etc. But the fact is, as I said in some of my earlier responses, is that what is very crucial in advocacy is how do you manage to sustain relationships over a significantly long period of time, whether it is editors, whether it is, say, research communities, scientific communities, government, at the center, at the state, policymakers, bureaucrats, etc. What people eventually tend to remember is, was the person who was engaging with me authentic? Did he provide authentic kind of information to me? Did he or she fudge any kind of data? Reputation, trust is very, very fragile. It takes years to build reputation. It takes seconds to break them. So, when you say reputation building is not easy, that's very true. Reputation building is extremely difficult. But what is more difficult in my view is how do you sustain it in an extremely tumultuous external environment?
Yeah. So speaking of advocacy, sir, my next question is on how public affairs and advocacy it deals with governments. They seem like daunting tasks that require extraordinary human efforts. So is there a way you can draw specific contours around advocacy? If I were to enter this field, what are some of the mechanisms and tasks that I should be knowing of?
It is daunting if you feel it is daunting. I can give you my personal example is I never thought of it as daunting. Did I know everything about advocacy when I came into the sector? No, I didn't. I was essentially when I started my career 28 years back, I started as a journalist. Eventually, I moved into consulting, public relations. Then I moved into advocacy, crisis, issues management, etc. So I never viewed, and this is my personal view, I never viewed of it as something being daunting. What did I see? Every new thing that was thrown towards me, I took it up as a challenge as to try and understand, speak with experts. If someone were to enter the field today and look at advocacy, etc., as a career, something that I personally do today, and I would urge all of you all to do is, to be like a sponge when it's put into water. What does it do? It absorbs to the best extent possible. Yeah. And that's the way, so even when I sit in front of students today, there is a lot that I take back home. There's a lot that I learn. So I think that's the best way to learn in terms of, that's the best way to grow, and that's the best way to learn. Yes, there will be challenges that will come along the way, but how do you surmount those challenges is by trying and innovating, by trying and accepting when you're sitting with others who know a bit more than you, trying and accepting the fact that yes, the person on the other side knows a little bit more than what you do, and then trying and using that expertise that you've learned, put that into use when you are engaging with various stakeholders externally or even internally. One of the things that a lot of us forget is that we believe advocacy is only external. No, advocacy is also internal. If you're working in an organization, there are also stakeholders who you will have to manage and navigate internally within the organization, and not just external stakeholders. For a long period of time, what we tend to ignore is the internal stakeholders, and it is definitely possible that some of these things that are getting ignored may come back to bite us, at a later stage.
Okay, sir. You worked in advocacy for agriculture technology. So can you describe your experiences? What were some of your best teachings and your worst nightmares?
Wow. Okay. So when I came to agriculture, the only thing I knew about agriculture was the spelling of agriculture. Okay. So that is all. So if you would put me in a field out there and tell me name the crop, I didn't know. Okay. So some of the best learnings, go out there, stand alongside farmers, see how they toil in significant amount of heat and rain and others, and try and see what are the challenges. When you try and extrapolate those challenges, and then when you engage with varied stakeholders in terms of your, what are the what your, what are those challenges and what are the solutions to overcome these challenges, and some of the work that we've done. For example, in one of my earliest organizations that I worked, we got a technology for cotton, absolutely superb technology, one that transformed cotton cultivation in the country. Okay, when you see those benefits being enjoyed by farmers on ground, it gives you a significant sense of satisfaction. Nightmares, you know, a worst nightmare for a public affairs, crisis management, media advocacy professional is a Friday evening. That's when you are that's when you are, and just on the lighter side, you may have committed to family. Yes, a Saturday and a Sunday is going to be for you, because you've just come back from a trip Monday to Friday, and then the last thing you want is probably an activist action, or probably one of your leaders having gone and spoken something which shouldn't have been done, and then how do you manage to salvage that situation? Those nightmares will continue to. But is that a nightmare? Would I call that a nightmare? Probably no. I think
it comes along with the work.
Yes, it is part of the work. And the moment you, as I said, two words, you like what I mentioned in the past, if I see it as a nightmare, if I see it as a load, if I see it as something that I don't want to do, then I'm probably not delivering to my optimum level when I'm going out there and engaging.
That's such an optimistic response. So, is there an ethical dilemma that professionals in advocacy are confronted with? For example, with agriculture technology and dealing with farmers, was there anything that might have led to some moral conflict?
Personally, I have not personally, I have not had those kinds of challenges, because I think whenever I have gone out and engaged, it has been to the I've been very confident, and I've been very sure about the fact that the work I am doing or the conversations I'm having externally, are providing the best solutions for the country's farmers, or my organization is doing its best to ensure that stakeholders are not, disadvantaged to any extent because of this kind of an advocacy or an outreach.
That was such a wonderful conversation, and you provided insights of how we need to put ourselves on the field and have gain hands-on experience, and how youth should be dynamic to adapt to environments. So that was such a good conversation. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining us today.